Welcome back. We were excited to talk with singer Alicia Cara today, but unfortunately we got word late last night that she needed to postpone.
Yeah, we hope to talk with her next week. In her place, we have a great dessert recipe for y'all from our friends at Southern Living magazine.
Hey there, my name is Trace Barnett, better known as the Bitter Socialite. One of my favorite desserts with apples is apple dumplings, and we're going to throw a little bourbon in there just for some good measure. So to start, you can either use a store-bought pastry or you can make a pastry of your very own. You're going to need one that's for a 2-pie crust. If you make your pie crust at home, go ahead, flatten that out in a disc and put that in the refrigerator for up to 30 minutes before you start cooking with it. Go ahead and kind of portion that out. There's going to be a little bit of dough left over, and if there's any corrections you need to make or any additions that you want to make, you can incorporate that leftover dough there. Take your rolling pin and gently flour that up. And then you're going to roll each little portion out, and you roughly want a square or a circle that's like 6 or 7 inches in diameter. That's all going to be determined by the size of your apples. You can use any kind of apple you want. After you've got that to square, I like to take one of these little pastry crimpers and just go ahead and make that into a nice square. So after you've rolled out your dough, it's time to get to the apples, the most important part. It's going to peel the apple, it's also going to core it, and one thing that I love about using this is it's going to spiralize our apple core, and the apple's going to cook quicker. As you can see, our little spiralizer created this perfectly cored area here, and in that core, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of butter. Here's a mixture of sugar, nutmeg, allspice, and a little bit of cinnamon. Pour about 1 tablespoon of that into the core of your apple, and then soak those raisins in a little bit of bourbon. Top that core off. So after you've stuffed your apples, now it's time to go ahead and layer the pastry around those. As you can see here, I've taken the apple and I've put it directly into that dumpling. And then you just want to start forming your dough up, just like that. And then you're going to take it in your hand and form it almost into a ball. Go ahead and just make sure everything is nice and sealed. So after you've done that, you're going to transfer that to a baking dish. And be sure your baking dish is large enough so that there's 2 or 3 inches in between each apple so they don't stick together as they cook. So after you've got your dumplings made, go ahead and utilize those pastry scraps that we talked about earlier and use that same crimper and cut out just the faint outline of a leaf. Go ahead and add a vein right through the middle of that to give it a little lifelike texture, and just go ahead and put that directly onto your dumpling, and then give it one final little dusting of the sugar, cinnamon, allspice, nutmeg mixture. And I don't like to waste any, so if you don't have enough scraps to make leaves for all of them, don't worry about it. Just put it on ones here, there, and everywhere, and just top the ones that don't have a leaf with a little extra sprinkle. So after we've got our dumplings in the pan, we're gonna throw together our bourbon brown sugar sauce. So you're gonna need 8 tablespoons of butter, and get those in a hot, medium-sized saucepan. So once your butter is melted, you want to add in your brown sugar. So once your brown sugar is completely dissolved into the butter, you want to go ahead and add in your bourbon. Give that a good stir, and then directly stir in some vanilla extract. Stir that really well to combine, and bring that to a boil. So after you've brought your brown sugar bourbon sauce to a boil, you're going to reduce the heat to low and let that simmer for 5 minutes or so. Once that has simmered for 5 minutes, you want to turn the heat off, take 1 spoonful and pour it directly over your apple dumpling. Alright, so after you have your sauce spooned over all of your dumplings, you want to pop that in a 425-degree oven for roughly 35 to 40 minutes. Whenever the apples are tender and the pastry is really nice and golden brown, that's going to be perfect and signal that they're done. So these are fresh out of the oven, and we can tell that they're perfectly done because the pastry is perfectly browned and crisp. Our bourbon brown sugar sauce has caramelized and it has a really deep golden color. My favorite way to serve these apple dumplings is with, of course, a dollop of ice cream.
Oh, Carol,
that looks amazing.
We're making those after the show.
You know, it doesn't look that hard. All right, for more cooking and baking videos, check out southernliving.com if you really want to impress people. Southern Living is owned by the Meredith Corporation, which happens to be our parent company.